Welcome, friends. You have found us at Casseroles and Tacos podcast. And I am Katie. I'm the Casseroles half of the team.
And I'm Andrea, always serving up tacos, especially in this summer heat. Awesome summer dish. But we're glad you guys are here. We're happy you joined us again. We thank you for joining us last week as we shared our hearts with you. And we're super excited to have you back with us this week. We hope you had a wonderful 4th of July and that you're enjoying your summer so far. I know we're doing the best we can to enjoy our summer with all of its heat and loveliness. How about you, Katie?
Heat. I'm not going to use the word loveliness. No, that's being cynical or sarcastic. It's great. People say the dog days of summer. First of all, I don't know what that means. I know my dog is hot and panting extra today, but so I guess that's what it means, panting more. If that's the case, then yeah. We are in Middle Tennessee and we have a heat index or, real heat or whatever it is they call it. And today it was 106. But, because we have the humidity and everything. But, that's nothing new to you, right, Andrea? You all have 100 and something.
Yeah, 106 is not abnormal. But you know what? We don't get the humidity you do. So I think that part would do me in. But it wasn't – you asked me earlier what the weather was like here today. I told you it was 97, which is nice for us. To us, that's like, oh, I can go outside today. But it's going to be 108 come Monday. So we'll make up for it. We'll make up for the nice little break that we got.
Well, we were in my children and I were in a hotel, several hotels last week because we had to escape so the house painters could paint our house. And we saw I guess it was Thursday morning at breakfast on the TV, the weather people were saying there was going to be this incredible heat all over the nation this week. So it's not just Tennessee. It's not just California. It's apparently the whole nation. But
I think they called it a heat dome.
Oh, did they?
Which seemed like an accurate.
Well,
yeah, I think it's an accurate way to explain it.
Okay, well, I'm in the dome, and
we're all under the dome of heat.
Dome of heat. Yeah. Well, I am. I'm not one of those who says summer's here. Yay! I can't wait. And we don't go anywhere special. Like I know some people go to the beach is what I'm thinking. Cause especially here, well, you've got the beach, but we have the Gulf of Mexico and people here, go there typically cause it's closer. So it's 5 to 6 hours than even going to the Atlantic Ocean. So people around here go to the Gulf of Mexico, but, so we don't go on any special vacations or anything because I look forward to staying in as much as possible, especially the older I get. But anyway, there are special things that some people do, summer and things they look forward to. So, can you think of, what is it y'all do special? Do you have any summer traditions or how do you know it's summer? How do you know?
How do I know
summer is here? It has arrived.
Well, I have the cynical answer to that.
Yeah.
And then I have the sweet podcast answer to that. But The cynical answer is when you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and you already feel hot. Mm-hmm. That's when you're like, oh, we're in for it now. It's officially here. And we all kind of joke about it like this valley heat. This is when we live where we call the valley. And it's a special kind of heat. So you just know it. Either that or when you start having asthma attacks and you're like, oh, okay, here we are. But I envy those people. I know we're not supposed to envy, but I do envy those people that look forward to summer. Like they've still got that excitement, like when you were a kid and it was summer vacation. I've never been that person either, so I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Summer is not my favorite, but there are some bonuses to summer, especially where we live. And it's important for me to seek those things that are positive because I could very easily, they say people get seasonal affective disorder.
Yes.
Like when they live in Seattle and it rains all the time and they get depressed. I get like that here. When it gets hot, I have a tendency to get down in the dumps because you can't go outside. It's miserable. It's gross. My lungs hurt. It's just, I could start going like, play myself a sad little song. But if I focus a little more on the positive, I can keep myself from going down that rabbit hole. And one of them is we have amazing fresh produce here. So when we start seeing peaches on the trees and nectarines on the trees and plums and cherries and apricots, we're surrounded by them. So when we start seeing that, we say, okay, that's a good thing about summer. And that's one of the things that lets us know summer's here, because we all start eating a lot more fresh stone fruit, which is exciting. Also, another weird one that maybe is one of the things that's kind of left over from my childhood, but now that my kids are experiencing, is something that you and I talked about. And I know most of our listeners are not going to know what I'm referring to. But it's the sound, sights, and smells of the swamp cooler. And the swamp cooler, for anyone that does not know, does not cool the swamp, although that's where it was originally invented, I think, was in Louisiana. And so they called it a swamp cooler because it would cool the swamp, people who live there. But it's an evaporative cooler. It is a giant fan that runs on water. Well, it doesn't run on water, but there's a bin of water underneath it, and it pumps water through these little pads. And so when it blows the air into the house, theoretically, it's about 10 degrees colder than it would be because it's gone over the water, has the water misted in it. So it blows very forcefully. It's kind of loud, and it has a very distinctive smell, which I don't think is bad, just a little different. There's just like the swamp cooler smell. Okay. So it's oddly comforting because I grew up with a swamp cooler. So the way it smells is like comforting. It does. It smells like summer to me. So we have the swamp. We have a swamp. We just put it in a couple weeks ago. We were using a little air conditioner initially, and it was going to cost us a fortune. So we thought, we're going to pull out the big guns. We got ourselves a swamp cooler installed. I'll have to post a picture of it because my mom gave it to me. It was a very generous gift of hers. She had it in her back acre, sitting there. And so she said, hey, I have the swamp cooler here. But it doesn't have a front grate because they have like a grate on them, like an air conditioner wall unit would have. Right. Well, it just goes right into the motor. So if any of the littles were at my house or my cat got curious, it's going to go right into the motor, right? So I got creative. I'm going to post a picture of it on our account because I put a cooling rack, like for cookies, with zip ties. I zip tied the cooling rack to the front. It's super professional looking.
Hey,
but it does the trick.
And the cat doesn't fall in.
Exactly. And you know what's funny is that my husband said that cat's not going to jump in there. How about that cat jumped right in there the first day I put it? It wasn't on, thank God. But I said, our cats aren't. I have one cat that's smart. And the other one, well, she's pretty.
Right. Well,
So I said, we're going to have to come up with a plan. So, So long story short, we have the stone fruit. We have the swamp cooler and the garden, right? The garden produces the best produce in the summer.
Yes.
The tomatoes and the strawberries.
Absolutely.
And the basil. Oh, goodness. Tomatoes and basil. I'm good with that all summer. What about you?
Yeah. Well, I was going to mention gardening. Now, I mean, we don't have a garden this year because, we're trying to sell the house this month and move to an RV. So we don't have a garden. I was planning, I have all these plans in my mind. And if I could clone myself, I could get everything done. But that's just doesn't seem to be working for me yet. But I was going to plant some tomato plants at least because homegrown tomatoes, I mean, come on. So, that didn't get done. And I bought my first homegrown tomato yesterday, or 4 or 5 of them, from a vegetable stand. A man that lives near us has just built himself a vegetable stand, and I saw it on the way home. So, yay, I bought those. Gardening, yes, of course. Most people, or I say most, the people I'm familiar with, the people are in my sphere of life, garden or appreciate a good garden or a good homegrown tomato or zucchini or what have you. Because I have grown up in the South. This is where I live. I don't live in a big city or town. So a lot of us are accustomed to gardening. And growing up, now we had a big garden because my daddy was a school teacher and a minister. So in the summertime, obviously he didn't go to teach school unless a couple of times he did some summer school teaching. And he grew up having a garden, but he planted this huge garden. And I, I only say this. Okay. I'm going to sound like the wimp or something. Okay. I'm terrified of snakes. I just am. I know God made them. That's wonderful. Whatever. I prefer to not exist with them ever in my whole life. And I have threatened to move to Ireland or wherever it is they don't have them. But alas, I'm still in Middle Tennessee. And this is going to sound really childish, Andrea, but it's confession time. That's one reason. Oh, this is embarrassing, but I've already gone into it now. That's one reason I don't care for summer, because, and huge grown up gardens where something could be lurking. So, there's my little, 7-year-old response.
No,
to summer.
That's not, no, you are not alone. You watch. We're going to get a lot of comments about this. Watch. You are not alone in that.
Okay, good.
No, I'm with you.
Okay. And then if you think that, I'll go further, because I just, and hey, my story will take us to, it'll come full circle. When I was 9 years old, I'll be 51 years old this year. When I was 9 years old, my daddy had this big garden, and it was great. I mean, that's how I learned to, and this was back in the 70, do the math. I don't do math on days that end in Y. So you guys can do the math and figure out what year it was. But it was in the 70s. So I say that because, first of all, we didn't have air conditioning in our 1830s home. And it was hot in June, July, August, even September. And we had to, I didn't mind. I enjoyed it. But we had to can and freeze at night, after it got dark, when it was cooler. And we used,
right.
I'd be interested in if some of our listeners are familiar with what I'm talking about. I'm sure they are. But like, for example, to freeze broccoli, we would, what's it called? Blanch it. Yes, blanch it. And then we would put it in the little baggies, but then we put the baggies in those white freezer boxes. I don't even know if they make those anymore. And I don't really know the point, other than that they stacked well, I guess. So, I would help with that whole process. And so we put up everything we could. And, but when the garden started getting, and I'm the oldest, so, mom and dad should have expected to get more work out of me in the garden than my brother and my sister. Well, the garden would grow up really big, and I'll never forget the summer of my 9th year of life. And so I went out there to pick the zucchini, and the plants get huge, I mean, they're beautiful. They're big and beautiful and great and wonderful, and I love zucchini. But There was a black snake curled up. I can picture, I'm just tormented even now. I can picture it curled up under that zucchini plant. And I screamed and hollered and thought I was going to have a heart attack and die right then and there. Bury me under in the garden, because I'm gone. And so I remember my daddy, he didn't have much patience with me with this little fear of mine. And I remember his saying to me, "Okay, fine, Katie, but you've got to help in some way. You've got to go do something." And so I don't remember the exact, turn of events and how it happened. But as a result of this, that summer, I started working major, overtime in the kitchen. I did canning and freezing, mainly freezing, not canning, and cooking the meals for the whole family of 5. Because doggone it, there was no way. If he was going to give me an option, I'm taking door number 2. I'm taking door number 2. I'm not picking zucchini. I will can zucchini. I will freeze zucchini until 2 a.m., but please don't make me go out in that garden. So anyway, that, Andrea, is what I attribute to, as silly as it is, my fear of snakes is what caused me to learn to cook at an early age. Plus I loved it, of course, but cook full meals for the family at age 9 because of that fear. And, Daddy, of course, he said, you're going to contribute to the family.
Right.
Time, of course. So that's fine. So there you go. That's one reason. And I wish that I wasn't so frightened, and I can't believe I've spent this much time on our talk today talking about
No, it's great.
But, I'm going to be interested to see if I'm alone out there in my feelings.
No, you're not. That's my bold prediction. I'm going to go ahead and cast that out there. I think you're not alone. I know my mom is really terrified of snakes too. And we don't have a lot of snakes here. We did have a little, garter snake out here where we are the other day, and Gavin caught it and relocated it for us. But where we used to live, there were rattlesnakes and king snakes and gopher snakes and garter snakes, and they would come up out of the holes in the garden when I was out there, and you never knew what was going to come out.
My stars.
You just hoped it wasn't a rattlesnake. But between that and I'm glad we're in a place where we don't get a ton of snakes, but we do see them every once in a while. But yeah, I don't know. I feel you. I think there's plenty of positives and negatives to summertime.
Yeah. There are,
but I went to the market the other day, and my favorite type of mango, which is not available year round, was back in the store. So that was another little thing that I could encourage myself with. So I bought the whole flat. I came home with 22 of them because that's what you do when you're excited about your favorite mango. And I'll just drown my summertime sorrows in mango juice. That's what's going to happen.
What do you do with them? I mean,
inside, where there's.
Do you freeze them?
What was that?
What do you do?
No, we eat them all up.
Just eat them. Okay. I love them too.
Oh yeah. They're little. The kind we buy, they're called Atalfo mangoes, and they're little and yellow. Sometimes they're called champagne mangoes. They are smaller, so we go through them pretty quick. It's kind of like a little snack, but we'll go through them probably in 4 or 5 days. We'll get through all 22 of them. So really, okay. It's yeah, but that's one of those things. Again, it's my summertime consolation prize. Because, and I don't know that there's anywhere. We used to live at the coast, and I will say that living by the beach, summertime's beautiful and wonderful, and there's really nothing to complain about. But I think most of the country struggles with heat, and so we can all agree that it can get a little rough out there, but finding those things that comfort us and bring those little memories and traditions and things like that are pretty neat. There's a farm stand. We have a lot of farm stands like you guys do. I thought of you the other day. Because I think it was in our first episode, you asked me if we eat okra out here.
Oh, yeah.
And I told you. Yeah, and I told you it's kind of hard to find. And when I do, it's really expensive or frozen. And but my mom stopped by one of the farm stands, which usually they're known for their strawberries. We grow, I don't know if you know this, but California grows about 90% of the nation's strawberries, which is pretty amazing.
Okay.
So we have a lot of strawberry stands out here. And so that's another summertime thing. You got to go get yourself a flat of strawberries and eat them as fast as you can. But she got me 2 big bags of okra. So I thought of you because I thought, oh my gosh, I actually got some fresh okra. It's not pickled. It's not frozen. It's not messed with. It's not $4 a pound. Yep. And I made myself some okra the other day, and I thought of you. But yeah, I look forward to one day having our own little piece of land again so that I can have an expansive garden that's mine. My friend that we're living here on their property is so generous and gives me access to her garden, and I piddle around in there, and at night we come and hang out together and water the garden and pick herbs and all that kind of thing. And it's been wonderful. We actually planted some chia seed this year, so that's been really neat. I can't wait to take pictures of that and post that too. But
yeah, share pictures because I didn't know you did anything besides eat them. I mean, I didn't.
Yeah. So yeah, we planted chia seeds and we piddle around the garden and have a good time. But I definitely, that's for me, that's therapy, is having my hands in the soil. So, and I know a lot of our listeners feel the same way. There's a lot of homesteadery types, and so I'm sure they're all enjoying the bounty from their garden coming in. Also, hopefully without the snakes and spiders and gophers too bad. Right?
Yeah, well, and, if you like snakes, that's fine. And we'll send you ours because, and that's fine. But I will say on a positive side, I love a garden. I love gardening. And I like my raised gardens that my husband built me.
Yeah.
In more ways than one, mainly because of my back, but they're absolutely awesome. So I love to garden. I love to reap the harvest. I guess that's the part I like because I like the putting by, the canning and the freezing and the dehydrating and the, everything that I do, the jamming and jamming, all that, the pickling and preserving, I should say, not jamming. And,
right.
So yeah, I do love all that part. I absolutely do. And I guess it was 2 years ago, maybe last year as well. We majorly supplemented our garden at our house with the farmer's market. So, you really need to I would encourage our our friends to have a good relationship with one farmer at least at your farmer's market. And unless you're growing everything yourself, and that's great, that's phenomenal. But this one farmer, he's just awesome. And I had used another, and then this other guy kind of was aged and he retired. And I started seeing this other visiting this other farmer stand. And man, I mean, I'll walk up and he'll say, "Oh, I saved you some so and so," or whatever he thought I wanted, or I could say, "Okay, next week I need a huge box of onions," or what have you. And he could trust me because he knew I would be there. So I would just encourage folks to have a good relationship with at least one farmer and at the market, more than one, of course, but one especially, instead of just, speak to people, just speak to them and talk to them and get to know the farmer. And so the garden bounty is awesome. I mean, that's really, I guess, growing up in a rural area, that's more of our summer tradition is gardening. We don't go to the beach or what have you, because that's just not what we do. But I know a lot of people look forward to, school's out. If your children are in public school, school's out and the pool's open. And so there are just so many, and get-togethers and picnics and grilling. So, of course, you can see, Andrea, I'm associating the positive things of summer with food.
I was thinking the same thing about myself, if it makes you feel any better. I was sitting here thinking, what other traditions do we have for summer? And I think barbecuing, picnic. I'm thinking the same thing as you. Yeah. Going out for ice cream at night. Like, I don't know. I think, when it gets this hot, I mean, we're about 2.5 hours, 3 hours. We're about 3 hours from the beach. So we don't go very often. We're actually going tomorrow, which is funny that I would say that, and then we're going tomorrow.
Right.
But it's not something we might do it once in the summer. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, we tend to just stick around home and sit tight in front of the swamp cooler and drink that. There's another one, iced tea. And I know you, our Southern friends, and you included, probably like your sweet tea, huh? But and I get so much flack for that from my husband. I'll tell you a funny story real quick, because I don't drink sweet tea. Okay. I think I literally did not know people put sugar in tea until I married my husband. Because I grew up in my mom is a very staunch, no sugar, black tea, Lipton only, sun tea person. Extra ice in a mason jar. That's how we drink our tea around here. Okay. And I met my husband, and I had this sweetened nest tea, which I had never had in my life. I didn't know what it was. I tried homemade sweet tea. When you're raised without it, I don't know what to do with it. Well, funny story, my husband went to Atlanta one time for business, and he went to this restaurant, and he sat down, and they asked him what he wanted to drink, and he asked for unsweetened tea. And he said it was like he heard the record skip, like, and everyone in the restaurant turned and looked at him like he was like, "You're not from here, are you?" There was just like this very like
all of Atlanta.
Yeah. All of Atlanta heard it. Yeah. It was like, the request heard across the state.
Right.
And he's like, I don't know. I feel like maybe I should have just ordered water. But it was, how dare you order unsweetened tea? Yeah. But like to a lot of us out here, it's like sweetened tea is a thing that a lot of us don't do. So, but that's another one of our traditions. But I mean, with the heat we get year round, we get sweet tea. I'm not sweet tea, sun tea most of the time. But there's a jar of tea well, we can actually just put it right. I don't even have to put it outside. I put it in the windowsill because it gets so stinking hot. But I got our sun tea going every day too. So I guess that's another good thing. But again, it's a food or beverage. It's I'm glad sums up our summertime experience.
I'd forgotten about sun tea. We used to that around here at least. It became popular in about the 70s, I guess. I don't know. And my mother did that when it became known or popular, and to keep from heating up the kitchen. And then my father-in-law did it. But do you know? Oh, he was so silly sometimes. It was funny, and we miss him. But he would also say he was making moon tea, and he would set it out there at night, and it would still brew. So I don't know how that happened, but it was funny. We kind of laughed at it. But yeah, but I'm glad you said moon that. Tea. And we need to remind our listeners that, so how many bags do you put in a gallon of water? How many tea bags?
Well, I use half-gallon mason jars because my fridge, that's what it needs. But
yes.
So for a half-gallon jar, I do 6 Lipton, and I know organic tea is better. I know, but I'm sorry. I like Lipton tea. Actually, I'm not sorry.
So you do the you don't do the family size. You do the regular size.
I do a half-gallon jar and 6 plain old Lipton tea bags until the tea is dark, dark, dark. I like it strong. And but we keep 2 of them going at a time because we go through so much of it. But I got to have it in a mason jar. I have to serve it in glass at least, but all our glasses are mason jars. And ice all the way to the top. All the way. Every once in a while, I'll put a few sprigs of fresh mint when it's steeping. But most of the time, I'm a purist about it.
Well, I'm going to say Lipton is better. Now, organic is better for you in the whole bit, even down to the tea bags themselves, because they put all kinds of stuff in the tea bags themselves. I say that. I don't mean Lipton does, but tea bag making people. But Lipton is better than a generic. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to agree with you because it is. I don't know why. Yeah. But so
my mom says. Go ahead.
We do. I like unsweet tea, and we at our house we like sweet tea, but I have grown accustomed in the past, 5 or more years of drinking unsweet tea only because I'm trying not to consume that sugar. So unsweet tea does not bother me at all, but we do use stevia as a sweetener, and that's what my husband and I both use now, and so. We don't even make sugar laden tea anymore. And, so, but yeah, when my, grandparents and my father's from Ohio. And when Mama, who's from the South, started going up there when she was dating my father, she couldn't get them to, there was this misunderstanding, this language barrier, because she would ask for tea and she's expecting to get sweet tea. And my grandfather serves a glass of hot tea unsweetened. And so they had to get through all that and figure out, okay, now what are we doing? So, and it wasn't until recently, I say recently, 10, 20 years in Ohio that we would go up. Because when I was little, we would go up and ask for tea and they would say, do you want iced or not? Do you want ice in it or do you not want ice in it? There was never mention of sugar. So it was all unsweetened. It's whether or not you wanted it iced or not iced. So that was kind of interesting.
Oh, interesting.
But,
we never had sweet tea available to us except for that raspberry tea that sometimes you get at soda fountains for years. It wasn't until McDonald's came out with sweet tea that there was ever even an option to get sweet tea here. It's always just been raspberry tea or just iced tea. Oh. So it's just funny. There's those little differences that crack me up that just all the same place. Yeah. But
so iced tea to you growing up was a glass of iced unsweet tea, right? That's what you're saying?
Absolutely. Black tea.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So iced
still
tea.
Is.
Okay. All right. Well, and that's good. So what about foods? Do you have, what's a food? Share with us. Do you have a favorite summer food or something you like to make?
I'm going to tell you, remember the other day we did these recipes, right? Where we gave out the recipe on the...
Right. That was fun.
Right there to you guys. Yeah. And so I'm going to give you another one real quick because it's super easy. I bet you even remember it without having to write it down. But if you want to write it down.
Okay.
Here you go. All right.
Good.
So I make something when I don't want to turn on the stove, which is 9 times out of 10. I don't want to turn on the stove because it does not cool down once you've turned on the stove. And I call it, it's a terrible name, but I call it chicken fiesta salad. And I don't know why I call it that, but I do. And so there's no grand story behind that, except that I was not creative 10 years ago when I came up with it. So basically, if you take my salsa recipe, which is available on my Instagram page, if you go to Instagram and search the hashtag OSS, as in Our Supper Stories, our OSS salsa, it'll come up. There's a video tutorial and everything. So if you go and get my recipe for salsa, or any salsa you like, honestly, but I'm just giving you my recipe.
Right.
Yes. And you take 2 cans of white meat chicken, which I normally don't use canned chicken, and this is one of the only times I ever do.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Costco one, but the Sam's Club and the Walmart one isn't half bad.
Okay.
That's the one I have in my pantry right now because I don't want to drive to Costco.
Because it's hot out there.
Yeah, I don't know. All that black asphalt stresses me out in the heat.
Yeah.
Start seeing things, our visions in the heat.
Yes. Stick to the swamp
two
cooler.
cans.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Swamp cooler and mangoes. That's how we're going to survive. So 2 cans of the chicken drained. Put it in a bowl. Then you add about maybe a half a cup to a cup of my salsa, however much makes you happy. I probably go closer to a cup.
Mm-hmm.
Then you add a bundle of cilantro chopped. If you don't like cilantro, leave it out, but don't replace it with something like parsley because that's not going to work. I know some people try to replace it with parsley. It's not even close to being the same, so just skip it.
Yeah.
But if you like cilantro, this is the recipe for you. So you throw in a whole bundle of chopped cilantro. And then the juice of a lime. A pinch of, I like pink Himalayan salt. Use whatever salt makes you happy. Salt it to taste. And if you'd like, a little drizzle of olive oil for some healthy fat. Give it a stir. Pop it in the fridge for like an hour. Let it set together. Before you serve it, you could you could dice an avocado and just fold it in there gently. But you don't have to. And it's so stinking good. And it's so simple and basic, but it's like a Mexified chicken salad, right?
Yeah.
And I just serve it with corn chips.
That sounds delicious.
Serve it up.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so good.
Okay. Well, and I'm looking at Instagram, and it's hashtag OSS salsa. It's right there.
Yeah.
Video, recipe, as in our supper stories salsa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That is awesome. Okay. Yeah. And I bookmarked it. So our friends could do the same. All right. That sounds delicious. And anything you add avocado to, I mean, come on. It's awesome. And so
you can't go wrong unless you hate avocado, and then you can absolutely go wrong. But
oh man, who hates avocado? Yeah. And I've been doing, as a side note, you mentioned mangoes, and something I just kind of made up was I've started eating chopped up mangoes, sliced bananas, chopped avocado. I add flaxseed oil on top and crushed black pepper. I don't know how I came up with that, but that's a little thing I've been making because, the avocados and mangoes, when they're in season, and that's all good. And I don't know, the flavors just seem to go well together. But
yeah, it sounds very similar to something we make.
Well, there you go. See,
but we use chia seeds and lime chili salt instead of black pepper.
All right, I have chia seeds at my house, but I don't know what lime chili salt is.
Oh,
so
I'll put it on I'll put it on the Instagram page.
Or better yet, you could just give me some. I mean, make something with it when I come see you. Like when I come see you, just, make something with it, and then I'll know.
All we're going to do is eat when you get here. So I'll make sure that happens.
I know. We won't be able to do a podcast when we're together, but we can do a video of ourselves, eating all the food.
We're going to be too busy chewing.
Going to eat all the food.
My mom said never talk with my mouth full, so we're not going to be able to do a podcast, people.
Yep. Sorry. Nope.
That's hilarious.
Going to be eating all the food. So yeah. So yeah, I want to tell you something I make, because if you don't mind, before we go, and I know we talked about tomatoes. I mean, of course, there's just the basic tomato sandwich, homegrown tomatoes, mayonnaise. Some people prefer Miracle Whip, and white bread. I'm just going to say, I mean, that's like the most unhealthy thing, but it's, there's nothing like a tomato sandwich and mayonnaise and white bread and salt and pepper. Some people add a dab of sugar, but I want to share a recipe too, and they can write this down, and probably need to write it down rather than commit it to. It'd be kind of hard to remember, I think. But we talked about the garden, and we talked about the zucchini plants that changed my life. Well, the thing under it changed my life. So zucchini fritters, that's one thing. And I mean, yes, we live in the South and we fry everything. But zucchini fritters, y'all, I love this. So I was talking to my husband before we started the podcast, and I said, "What do you think is, something that I make in the summertime, that just, what's the first thing you think of? Well, he said gazpacho. Well, I don't make that every summer, but he loves it. Do you all eat gazpacho? I mean, do you make it?
No, I don't. I make a really basic tomato soup, but I don't serve it cold.
Okay. Well, he likes that.
Yeah, a lot of it's tasty. I don't know why I never think to make it though.
Well, it's not something I make every summer. I just don't. But the zucchini fritters, there's always zucchini. I mean, the joke is down here in the country churches, you lock your doors when you go into church because if you come out, you may have a box of zucchini sitting in your car because people are trying to get rid of, this is like August, September, because people are trying so hard to get rid of zucchini. So that's kind of a joke, but it's not really a joke. It's kind of true.
That's hilarious.
Let me throw out this recipe to y'all for zucchini fritters. And I'll also be happy to post it on our Instagram page, Casseroles and Tacos, as well. So combine a half a cup of milk and 1 egg. Now, mind you, I double this or triple it. So here's one recipe. Half a cup of milk and 1 egg. And, of course, stir that together. And add 1 cup of flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, a half of a package of ranch style dip mix. Okay, so now this is the envelopes that you buy to make ranch dressing or ranch dip or whatever. I make my own ranch style mix. So, if you make your own, then you know how to adjust this recipe. But a half of a package of ranch style dip mix. And then 2 cups of shredded zucchini. All right. So that uses a lot of zucchini. So that's a good thing. So you just mix all this together, blend it well. And then you're going to drop it by, I use my little Pampered Chef scooper mix, the scooper thing. And, and I just drop it into hot oil and fry it. Now, I don't have a deep, it doesn't, 2 inches deep or so of the oil. And I've done it with less oil too. You have more of a flatter style if you do that. But anyway, that's it. And so it's kind of like a hush puppy kind of idea, I guess, if somebody's not familiar with a fritter. But yeah, and they're just delicious. We eat them.
That sounds good.
Oh, we could eat it, make a meal out of them. Now, I also do fried zucchini, but that's a whole other thing. So, but we eat these with sliced tomatoes and, I'll have to say, I usually make, if I don't make my garlic salad dressing to go with it, then I'll just dip it in mayonnaise, but that's probably going to gross people out. But if you get to know me pretty well, you'll know I'm a mayonnaise lover. So yeah, that's what we do. Zucchini fritters. I mean, that's something that I don't like to buy food out of season at the grocery store. Okay. And I try not to even buy it locally. And I'm just going to say this, not to be snarky, but I don't buy California strawberries. I mean, I just don't. Wow. I try to buy as locally as I can because after they've traveled from here to yonder. So, I wouldn't expect you to buy Tennessee, whatever necessarily.
Right.
So I don't buy food out of season. So that's why we try to take advantage of all the zucchini and the tomatoes and everything. But yeah, I mean, it's been great to talk to you about summer memories and traditions and food, for Pete's sake. It's awesome.
I know, as always.
Yes.
Well, I think that sounds good. I love zucchini fritters. I never thought to put ranch mix in them, and I make my own too. So I have some in the cabinet, and we have zucchini coming out of the garden. So I may have to try that one this coming week. If it ever drops below 108, I will consider it. If not, I may have to wait for a cool down. But I love the idea of that. It sounds so super good. And we'll just have to see. I want to know what you guys all do for summer. I want to know what your summer traditions are, how you know it's summer, what makes summer where you are and in your home and in your area. I think it would be really cool to hear how you guys are living it up in this heat. And so if you want to jump on over to Instagram, guys, and join the conversation, I'm sure we will have an interesting one. As always, we always love to hear the contributions you guys make to the conversation because that's what this is all about. Walking life with you guys and sharing our stories and hearing yours. So we are excited to hear what your contribution is to this discussion. We hope that you picked up a new recipe today and giggled a little with us. So thanks for joining us. We look forward to continuing this conversation and continuing this journey with you guys. But until next time, we hope that you'll always remember love is the best ingredient. You guys have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.